Think about your day right now. What stops if the power goes out? Uh-oh. All right, let's start one more time. What stops if the power goes out? Like a countrywide power outage. Your phone, fridge, or computer, but not even just that. Imagine no traffic lights, no way to get your car out of the garage, no way to pay for anything at the store, trains and flights halted. For millions in Spain and Portugal, this week, that became their reality in a massive unexpected blackout. Now, you might be asking, why should I care? That's happening over there. But what happened in Spain is a symptom of a global challenge, a challenge that directly threatens our way of life here in America as well. And understanding why their grid failed is the first step in protecting our own future. Let's dive in. On April 28, 2025, Spain and Portugal experienced a massive power outage, one of the largest in European history. Millions were affected, daily lives was disrupted across the Iberian Peninsula, and the blackout, starting at around 12:30 p.m. local time, was triggered by a significant drop in Spain's grid frequency from the standard 50 Hz down to 49. This led to automatic power plant shutdown and cascading failures that even impacted neighboring countries. Spain's High Court has since opened an investigation into the operator. Initial findings, according to the operator's statements, point to a strong oscillation in the power flow, which triggered a very significant loss of generation. Now, here's where it gets pretty interesting. Analysis noted that the frequency of the grid dropped, triggering automatic emergency protocols. Data also shows that solar generation, which accounted for majority of Spain electricity at that time, plunged by more than 50%. One industry source indicated that there wasn't enough firm power like gas, nuclear, and hydro storage to handle this sudden fall. Now, this highlights potential weaknesses related to the grid's ability to manage rapid changes in renewable energy output. Spain has been a leader in integrating renewable energy with a record of 56% of their electricity coming from renewable sources in 2024. But this rapid growth has outpaced investments in grid infrastructure. This means that sometimes local networks can't handle all the renewable energy being produced, leading to a curtailment or what's called a forced reduction in generation to keep the grid stable. In fact, in 2022, curtailment cost Spanish energy consumers an estimated $1 billion. This existing strain on the grid, coupled with the sudden drop in solar output, could have been a major contributing factor to the blackout as the system struggled to manage fluctuation in the supply and demand. Now, adding this to the complexity, renewable sources like wind and solar are intermittent. They're not always available when they're needed. Spain's grid-operated Red Electrica has stressed the need for backup power and other tools to ensure grid stability. Another source with direct knowledge of the sector stated that the Spanish grid was running with little energy stored to act as a buffer to compensate for sudden changes in the demand or supply. Now, this lack of energy storage further accelerated the grid's vulnerability to the rapid losses of solar generation. At this point, you might be thinking again, okay, well, it's happening in Europe. Why should I care? And that's exactly the wrong way to look at it. What happened in Spain is a huge warning sign for developed countries worldwide, including the United States of America. It forces us to rethink energy resiliency and critical role solar energy paired with robust grid infrastructure and energy storage can play in preventing and mitigating these kinds of disasters. Spain's outage brought everyday life to a standstill. Trains stopped mid-route, hospitals run on limited backup power, grocery stores closed, the digital economy ground to a halt, leaving businesses and households scrambling. What's very alarming is how quickly modern life unraveled without electricity. This is not just about inconvenience, it's about security, health, economic stability, and even national defense. America is not immune to these risks. In fact, the US power grid has shown increasing signs of fragility. In 2021, Texas blackout is a perfect prominent example caused by extreme weather. It left over 4.5 million people without power and resulted in at least 246 deaths. Similarly, California has seen rolling blackouts due to wildfire threats and grid strain during heat waves. Spain's experience is yet another reminder that modern energy systems, no matter how advanced, are vulnerable and becoming more with climate change, cyber threats, and infrastructure neglect. So why should Americans pay attention? Well, shared infrastructure has challenges. Like Spain, the US has aging grid infrastructure. Much of it was built decades ago and wasn't designed to handle today's energy loads or the unpredicted stress of extreme weather events happening. Power lines are susceptible to wind, ice, and fires, while substations and transformers are often poorly protected against sabotage or cyber attacks. Spain's grid collapse could very easily mirror what might happen in the US city or even the entire state if similar pressures are applied. Climate change does not recognize borders. The same rising temperatures, intense storms, and erratic weather that contribute to outages in Europe are impacting the US as well, and more each year. In 2023 alone, the US faced more than $20 billion of weather and climate disasters. The more we rely on centralized power grid to deliver uninterrupted energy across vast distances, the more we expose ourselves to cascading failures when any part of that system is compromised. While a cyber attack has been ruled out, according to the sources, the Spanish power outage raised questions about potential cyber interference, an area where the US has also shown exposure. The Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack in 2021 exposed how easily digital sabotage can disrupt critical infrastructure. If these attacks can compromise oil supply lines, what's to stop them from attacking our electricity grid? A decentralized and resilient energy network becomes not just an environmental priority, but a matter of national security. Blackouts do not affect all Americans equally. Low-income families suffer more during outages, lacking the resources to invest in backup power sources or escape unsafe conditions. Businesses, especially small ones, can't afford long-term shutdowns. Spain's blackout demonstrated how economic disparities deepen during that crisis, in a scenario the US is very well acquainted with. Preparing now can reduce future hardships for the most vulnerable. So, how can solar help if solar could have been part of the possible reason for this huge power outage? If the Spanish blackout is a warning, solar energy is part of a solution. Clean, decentralized, and increasingly affordable solar power offers a path to resilience that is the traditional grid cannot provide to most homeowners. So here is how. Decentralized power generation. Solar panels generate electricity on site, whether on a home rooftop or a community solar farm or on the business. This decentralization reduces the strain on long-distance transmission lines and allow neighborhoods or towns to function independently of the main grid when necessary. Microgrids powered by solar can island from the main network, providing critical services during a wider grid failure. When combined with battery storage systems like the Tesla Powerwall, Franklin, EPQ, whatever battery storage you want, solar setups can store excess energy during the day and you can use it at night or during power outages. This is what we do every day and it's a game changer. During a blackout, homes with solar and storage can continue powering essential appliances, medical devices, or internet access while the neighbors sit in the darkness. More and more people are realizing that, and incidents like this one in Spain hopefully will make people start researching more and more. Besides improving resiliency, solar energy dramatically cuts carbon emissions. By reducing dependence on fossil fuels, we lower the risk on climate-driven disruptions in the first place. Moreover, solar installations costs have dropped significantly over the past decade. Many states offer incentives, tax credit, and net metering programs that make solar not only sustainable, but financially smart. Transitioning to solar can stimulate the economy as well. Solar jobs now outpace coal jobs in the US, and this trend is expected to grow. Solar initiatives can be tailored to underserved communities, helping them build local resilience and reduce long-term energy costs. Community solar projects where neighbors collectively invest in shared solar arrays are proving especially popular in urban and low-income areas. Now, some American cities and regions are already embracing the lessons Spain has accidentally taught us. One of them is Boulder, Colorado. That's developing a microgrid that uses solar and storage to power emergency shelters during power outages. Another one is Puerto Rico, devastated by Hurricane Maria in 2017. They're investing heavily into solar microgrids to break its resilience on a fragile centralized system. California mandates solar panels on most new homes, and it's rapidly expanding energy storage programs to mitigate the risk of blackouts from wildfires and heat waves. These early adopters are not waiting for a disaster to strike. They're acting now, and their foresight could serve as a blueprint for the rest of the country. So what can Americans do today? Well, awareness is the first step. The Spanish blackout is not an isolated event, but part of a pattern that's becoming more frequent globally. We need to treat it like a wake-up call. Here's how individuals and communities can actually start preparing. Investing in solar and battery storage systems. So for homeowners, installing solar is increasingly more accessible. Federal tax credit currently covers 30% of the cost, and many states offer additional incentives and support. Another thing we can do is advocate for resilient policies, supporting local and national policies that invest in renewable energy infrastructure, microgrids, community solar, and things like that. We need to push for modernization of the grid to make it smarter and more secure. We also need to support energy equity to ensure that solar solutions are actually available to all Americans, including renters, low-income families as well. This means advocating for inclusive programs, grants, and community projects. We also need to educate and share. We need to talk with our neighbors, school, community leaders, talk about the importance of grid resiliency. The more people understand the stakes, the more pressure there is to change. Contrary to popular belief, the power outage in Spain is not just a European problem. It's a glimpse into the future we may all face if we continue to ignore the vulnerability in our energy system. For Americans, this crisis serves as both a warning and an opportunity. We can either wait for a similar disaster to hit our shores, or we can proactively build cleaner, more resilient, and decentralized energy future. Solar energy, with its unmatched potential for sustainability and independence, offers a path forward. No matter what you have heard or how you feel about renewable energy, climate change, cyber attacks, and poor grid infrastructures are actual and real threats. These things are happening in real time, so more people need to open their eyes. The time is to act now, literally before the lights go out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave comments down below, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.